in this video, I'm walking you through how to lay prone and give yourself foot cramp. You might ask yourself the question, why on earth am I giving myself foot cramp? Why would I want to do that? And the reason being is that by waking up your feet and by getting them cramping, we can start to relieve tension through our hips, tension through our lower back, and even sometimes tension in our upper body. So the more that our feet work to be our foundations, to propel us forward, to stabilize the rest of our body, the more comfortable, the more balanced, the more free, and the less pain the rest of our body is going to be in. So giving yourself foot cramp is actually, weirdly, one of the easiest ways that you can begin to reduce tension in your joints throughout the rest of your body. And we're going to do this in what is a kind of accessible position for most bodies. But if it doesn't work for you, if laying prone hurts you, it's not the exercise for you, find something else to do instead. We never want to push through and force exercises that our body is asking us to listen to and respect. So if your body is giving you symptoms of pain, so ouch, my neck is feeling worse, or ouch, my lower back is feeling worse, then that is your body saying, I don't want you doing this thing. Feet cramping, completely different story. That's not pain, that's your feet waking up. That's hard work, and that's exactly what we want. So we are going to come to a laying prone position. Hopefully my microphone isn't impeded by this. And you can absolutely do this in a bed, by the way. So if getting up and down from the floor is difficult, you can do this exercise from the comfort of your bed or your sofa, but sofa might be a little bit difficult unless you've got a massive sofa. So we're laying prone, we're taking our elbows wide, we've got one hand on top of the other, and we're keeping our head in a comfortable position. If you can, I would rather you have your forehead angled downwards and on top of your hands. So I'd rather you not have a twist in your neck, if at all possible. I'd rather your head get angled down and keep it straight. But don't worry if you have to have a bit of a twist. This is more about your feet than it is about anything else. I'm going to have my head twisted for the purpose of the video so I can see myself on the camera and just make sure that I'm nice and clear. But ideally, I would like your forehead down. Okay, so all we're going to do here is keep our toes together and have our ankles hanging out wide. So we're in a kind of pigeon-toed position. Big toes are touching, ankles are wide apart from each other. And what that does is it creates more length through the front of the hips. And all we're going to try and do here is squeeze our toes so that we are contracting the arches of our feet. So this may be a movement that you do not do very often, but basically what I want you to try and do is to ground the tops of your feet more into the ground because you're pointing your toes hard, if that makes sense. If you look at my right foot there, because I'm pointing my right toes hard, I'm lengthening the front of my foot. When my foot is relaxed, I'm in that type of position. So there's a little bit of a bend at my ankle. So your feet are going to stay on the floor, but I want you to try and really lengthen the top of the foot. And what that kind of ballerina foot position does is plantar flexion, is work the arch of the feet, and maybe we'll get some cramp. What I do want you to observe here, though, is some people, if they struggle with plantar flexion, which is this movement of the foot that we're trying to create, what they're going to do instead is lift the kind of knee and the shin off the floor. So this is not about you buckling up in your knee and lifting the shin off the floor. That's not you plantar flexing, that's you compensating with your leg. The leg stays heavy and relaxed on the floor. You are trying to take the fronts of your shins, the fronts of your ankles, and the tops of your feet closer to the floor with the work that you are doing through your feet. I hope that makes sense. So it's not this and a lifting of the knees and the shins. The shins stay on the floor. We are trying to ground as much of the tops of your feet into the floor, fronts of the ankle joints and the fronts of the shins. And we're really trying to hold tension through our feet here. I'm going to set a timer for just a couple of minutes whilst I walk you through a few things. But this may be an exercise that you can try and do for like 10 minutes on and off. So you may notice that you get foot cramp straight away, and you'll know if you get it because you'll be wanting to do this. And if that happens, that's great. That's a sign that you've woken up that foot. If you do get foot cramp, give yourself a break and come out of the exercise and just go back into it when your foot has kind of calmed down. You're really trying to work your feet hard. So we're maintaining a calm, nasal, diaphragmatic breath in the upper body. The jaw is relaxed, the hands are relaxed. As I mentioned before, your legs are relaxed in that you're not buckling kind of upwards in the pelvis or the knees. This is just about those feet. So we're pointing the toes away as hard as we can. We're trying to ground the top of our foot into the floor. We're trying to ground the front of our ankle into the floor. We're trying to ground the front of our shin into the floor. And this is going to create that functional plantar flexion of the foot, but it's also going to help you lengthen through your hips. We're just over a minute into me timing this. And by the way, you are holding this contraction in your feet throughout as much as the cramp will allow, like I said. So if you cramp, shake it off and come back to it, but you are trying to maintain that tension through the feet, through the arches of the feet to promote that movement as much as possible. If you're not feeling much, maybe you've got one foot that's cramping and one foot that's not. What I tend to find is the foot that's not cramping is often not working hard enough. So it's often the more dysfunctional foot, the less operational foot. So I want you to send your energy using your brain more to that foot you're not feeling and squeeze it a bit harder than your brain thinks that you can. So try and send a little bit more intention to that foot that's not waking up, and you'll hopefully find that you can get it waking up just by focusing on it a little bit more. The other thing I want you to think about is the angle of your feet. So I've asked you to do this to start with your big toes together and your ankles wide, just because in my experience, that tends to be one of the quickest and easiest ways for people to get their feet cramping. But what I want you to also play around with is changing the angle of your foot. So what I've just done there is I've taken my feet from being in that pigeon toe position to a more parallel position. And you can see in the side view maybe that the top of my left foot doesn't touch the floor. So I'm really trying to squeeze those toes away, lengthen the front of the foot, and over time, I will hopefully be able to get that grounding through the front of my foot and ankle on the floor, but not right now. And as I do that squeeze, it's not that buckle and lift through the rest of the leg, because that's the leg compensating. The top of the thigh stays grounded on the floor. I can feel a bit of a stretch through my hips, and I'm getting a little bit of kind of work moving up through my leg, through the calves, which is nice. It's not just the arches of my feet here, it's also transferring into my calves. So do have a play around with the angle of your feet. You are still maintaining that squeeze of the feet, but have a play around with the angle of the feet, because you might be able to find an angle that works more effectively for your posture. So you're really just trying to find the foot position that works best for you. And the way that you'll know it's working best for you is that you're getting more cramp, more wobbles, more work through the kind of bottoms of your legs. And like I said, you're just holding this for as long as you can, for as long as you want to. If you get cramp, you shake it off, you come back into it. But this is an exercise that you can just play around with, like watching TV maybe, but like I said, also in bed. And you can do this for like 5 to 10 minutes. You may be really surprised how different you feel afterwards. So let me know in the comments below if that gave you any relief. We'll stop the video there, and I hope you enjoyed. That was lying prone with foot cramp.